Welcome to the Izzi and Nils Show. Today, how to build a high-end landing page.
Hello everyone, in this episode we will tell you how to build a high converting landing page from scratch, how to build it, how to host it, what elements should be on there, and what you can do to improve it further. Let's get into it.
Yes.
I have no pants on.
Nice.
Thanks.
Like, no trousers or no underwear, or both?
Why do you ask? We should talk about the iTunes reviews.
Do you not want to leave that to the end?
I don't know if most people will listen to the end.
I hope they do. That's the best part.
But maybe they don't know because they never listened.
True. So today I was watching Die Hard 3, which is a great movie, by the way.
A Christmas movie.
No, the first one is the Christmas movie,
Oh.
which is amazing. But in the third one, there is a German called Nils, and
Ugh.
Bruce calls him Nils.
Okay.
Poor Nils.
What do I do with this information?
I don't know. It just made me think of you, because I know sometimes people mispronounce your name.
But many people get it wrong. So whenever I introduce myself to someone who's not speaking German, they usually, even if they try, or if I do it and they try to say what I said, then I say Niels and they say Niels. They have too much of an L in there.
I think that's how I say it. Oh my God.
Can you say it again?
Niels.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I can't even
That's
say
so
your
wrong.
name right. What?
You always take these small, like you don't drink, you just raise the bottle and leave it again.
Don't make me feel self-conscious about my drinking skills.
Do you even get liquid in your mouth? I know what you will say. Before we dive into the topic, I would like to explain what a landing page is. I guess most of you will know, but just so we all talk about the same stuff when we're talking about landing pages, I want to give a quick introduction to the topic. If you're not interested in this, just fast forward 1 minute and you'll be fine. No, don't do that because I don't know how long this will take. So first of all, there are, I would say, integrated and campaign landing pages. Integrated is not really an official word, but I mean landing pages that exist inside your website or in some sub pages of your website. So basically every page that someone can land on is a landing page. And landing on a page means he comes from outside of your website. So it wasn't an internal link that brought him or her there, but it was a link from outside, which could be a Google result in the SERPs, to say that again from the last episode.
Nice.
Or it could be a link in an email, it could be a link on social media, it could be a direct type in. So if someone types the URL, the link, the address of your website in the browser, of course, it can also be an advertisement or whatever, and so on. So whenever someone comes to your page from outside of your page, the page that the person lands on is considered a landing page. And usually these are integrated landing pages that are just part of your website, as long as it's not a campaign. So for example, if you run a campaign on Facebook ads or Google AdWords or any other platform that you can run ads on, it's usually a campaign landing page. At least it should be one, because you should never start an advertisement campaign without a dedicated landing page. So whatever your goal is, whatever you want to sell or what you want people to sign up for, you should always have a landing page that works well with your advertisement so that people will be more likely to convert. Did I explain what a landing page is?
Yes.
Cool.
I got it.
Cool.
I know so much now.
Yes, finally. So basically all of your pages are landing pages except the ones that can't be landed on from outside. For example, if you have a checkout flow on your website, or if you have a thank you page after the user signed up for something, or pages like those are not landing pages because they cannot land there from outside, but every other page is a landing page. My hair is getting dry and it's getting annoying. Also, I'm losing my hair. I think I will have no hair in a few years.
Oh, I saw a meme today that said something like, every time a guy is a dick to a girl, his hairline goes back a centimeter.
This doesn't happen to me.
Of course not. Every time I read about landing page optimization, the number one topic is usually about optimizing your conversion rates on a landing page. So maybe you could tell me, like, what is a good conversion rate for my landing page and what ideally should I aim for?
It depends.
Of course.
So I don't know, you read a lot of bullshit out there where people say with these tips you will get a conversion rate of 31.6% and you will earn 2,000 euros per day starting tomorrow. So I would say a good conversion rate depends strongly on the traffic source. So you can have a landing page that's converting really well. I will tell you what well means in a second. But in general, you will have very different conversion rates based on the traffic source. So for example, if you have direct type in traffic, this usually converts quite well because it's people who want to go to your website. If you have Google AdWords traffic, so if you were running ads on Google, people searched for the term and they come to your site, the conversion rate might be high as well. If you have organic visits from Facebook or from some other social media platform, usually the conversion rate is not so high because those are just tourists. So it's just people who come to your site, just want to see what's up there, but they're not really interested in buying it. And if you have newsletter traffic, so people you send your newsletter to and that come to your site, usually those have the highest conversion rate overall, but it depends. So whatever the topic is that you use to make people come to your site, it differs extremely. And also, of course, you will have a lot of people who come to your site just to log in. For example, if you're a software as a service company and people want to sign in just to use your service that they already signed up for, they will lower your conversion rate because they will come to your site without signing up again. But still, it's important traffic and it's valuable traffic. So it depends. And what conversion rate you should aim for, I cannot really tell you. I would always say just try to get a better conversion rate than you had before. Just try to improve all the time. And I've seen landing pages that converted pretty good at 3%, at 5%, or even at 1%, depending on the offer that you have. But also I've seen landing pages that convert with over 50%. Like, I don't know, the best landing page I have converts with 60% in the best traffic source. But it depends. So I cannot really give you an answer to this question, except try to be better than you were before. And also don't really look at your competitors, because even if you think they have a high conversion rate, you cannot really know it, except they show you their numbers. But if they show them to you, then you should still look into the different traffic sources. And also, depending on the traffic source, the conversions you get from the source are limited at some point. If Facebook works really well for you, it's impossible to scale it endlessly. So you cannot say, I get conversions for, I don't know, $5 per conversion that I invest in advertisements, and you cannot scale this until forever. So you cannot get 1 billion conversions through there. The longer you run it and the longer it takes, the more people come through there. Usually your cost per acquisition goes up, your conversion rate goes down, because it's just not an endlessly big number of people that you can target that are disinterested in your product.
So in your experience, did you notice that paid campaigns, those landing pages convert better than, say, unpaid and organic traffic?
You mean the different landing page types? Usually, yes. So, but again, it depends. So for example, if you have a lot of friends on Facebook that could be potential customers, like for example, if I would release an online video series on how to build a landing page and I would post this on social media, I would probably get a very high conversion rate for this because people know me for this and they maybe follow me because they are interested in landing pages. So this would be a very nice traffic source. But as soon as this traffic source is gone, or as soon as people there signed up or didn't sign up or whatever, then I have to go target the traffic that doesn't know me, that is not in my friends list. And so then I would say it's always better to have a dedicated landing page where you really talk about this one single topic that you want people to sign up for.
And I think it's good to know as well that a conversion doesn't just mean a transaction or like spending money. It can be a whole number of things, right? Whatever goal you have in mind.
Yes, can be anything. The typical ones, I would say the macro conversions, so the big conversions you usually aim for or try to optimize is a sale, a lead, a sign up, or
A download?
yeah, could be that exactly. And then you have micro conversions, so all the small steps that people take on the way to the macro conversion. And that can be anything like adding a product to the cart, scrolling down the page, opening or visiting at least 3 subsequent pages on your website, clicking a link, whatever. So, but all of these are considered conversions as long as you measure them. You always have to be able to measure a conversion. So, for example, you cannot do conversion optimization for happiness of your customers. You couldn't measure that. It's possible to optimize for happiness or for user experience or whatever, but it's not really measurable. So you would have to do this with questionnaires or surveys among your customers and so on. So that's not really conversion optimization.
Nice. My poor voice.
Noodles?
No noodles this time.
Oh.
Just lasagna.
Lasagna is noodles.
What? No.
Lasagna, it does have noodles in there.
See, in England or in English, noodles are only for like Asian noodles.
Or you mean like the small, thin, long things?
And yes. Okay. I'm not saying. Yes, I think my voice just over the week deteriorates and then on Sunday it's the worst. Oh, we're recording on a Sunday. And then on Monday it's like back to being good again.
Oh, maybe we should record on a Monday so you don't sound so shit.
Thank you.
You know that people love your voice. You even got comments on that.
I hope so. I'm really paranoid about my voice because I used to play World of Warcraft, and when I was speaking in a raid, someone said I sounded like a boy.
In a rape.
In a raid. Oh, oh my god.
Yeah. Did I tell you about my achievements?
No, yes, you did, but you can tell the world.
Maybe I should mention it. So I was thinking about putting this into my CV because I'm kind of proud, but also it's kind of awkward. So when I was playing World of Warcraft in my times as a student, I basically only play World of Warcraft. So I had I played 5 years and I had like 450 days, like real days playtime. And at one point I was world rank 7 of more than 10 million players, which is kind of...
Wow. It's kind of a big deal.
It is. So, yeah, but it's also very sad.
No.
But no, not at all.
No.
Yeah, that was my story.
And what were you on World of Warcraft? What class?
I was an undead rogue named Hate.
That's so you.
What's so funny about that?
You're an undead rogue called Hate.
I was unsatisfied with the world. No, I wasn't.
Perfect. So when it comes to creating a landing page, how should I actually build it? Or maybe you can give some tips on hosting and running my pages and my domains.
I think there are 2 ways you could go. One way is using a landing page builder or a landing page tool that is out there. There are several like Unbounce or Wix.
Oh.
It's funny if you're German because to Wix means to jack off. But they didn't change their name for the German market. And now they are having funny advertisements showing an old man saying, ich wichse jetzt, which means I jack off now. So, yeah. Yeah, so you could use something like that. And this can work pretty well. So, for example, I used Unbounce a lot in the past. Link in the description. And Unbounce is a very cool tool because you can very easily, very fast build your landing pages without any coding skills. Also, they don't pay me for saying this, so I haven't talked to them about this. It's just really easy. And if you're a marketer or if you have your own product that you want to promote, then you can just use that, and basically your landing page is done after 1 hour or maybe 2 hours of work, and you can A/B test it and so on. So it's really, really nice to get a quickly built landing page that actually does convert. So the landing page templates they have are pretty nice. You can just put your own text in there, your own images, your own tracking codes, I think, to a certain point, and then you can just use it. So that's really fast. And then again, you have some limitations. So you cannot track everything on there. You cannot write PHP code. So you cannot do everything you want. In this case, you would have to have a self-built or handmade landing page, which is what I do. So whenever I have a landing page that shouldn't just exist for one specific event or for a very limited period of time, then I usually build the landing pages myself. So I use PHP, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and so on. You might have a programmer or a developer who's able to do this. And then I would always recommend to build it yourself, because you can just do everything about it. So you can track everything you want. You can change everything you want. You're not limited by the templates that the landing page tool has. So yeah, I would say that's better. If you do that, then of course, I mean, we're not talking about how to build your own website in this podcast, but of course you need to host them. So you could use any web hosting provider to upload your landing page. You can get your own domain, like supercoollandingpage.com, and this doesn't really cost a lot. So even if you, I don't know, if you have no idea about hosting, about domains, so usually you get a web hosting package for, I don't know, $2, €2 a month, starting at that point, and a domain also just costs a few cents. So yeah, it's really cheap to do it. And then, of course, depending on the goal you have with your landing page, it could make sense to also get a CRM, like I don't know, like HubSpot or something, HubSpot CRM, which you can then use if you have a form on your landing page and people send this form to you, then it goes directly into your CRM, so your customer relationship management tool, where you can then go on with the communication with the person who sent this form to you. Also, if you use Unbounce or something like that, you have a CRM built in, kind of. Not really a CRM, but you will see the leads that you get from your landing page in the login area of Unbounce. Yeah, and then, of course, you should optimize it, but we'll get to that later.
And there are so many like great CMS systems out there.
You mean CRM or CMS?
CMS.
I haven't talked about CMS.
Oh, we spoke about Wix. That is a CMS.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a CMS kind of. Yes, sorry.
That's okay.
What else? What do you want to mention?
Well, I always think WordPress is just very accessible and useful for all.
Yeah. Of course, WordPress you can use for your landing pages, but that's more the self-made part,
Yes.
not really the landing page tool part. But it's still easy. So you can you can either build your own template, or you can just buy a template and then edit all of it without any coding knowledge. So that also works. Yeah, what's super important wherever you build it. So if you use WordPress or anything else, you should always, of course, use some form of analytics. So if it's Google Analytics or Yandex Metrica or whatever you want to use, you should do that, because you need to know what happens on your page. And if you don't use analytics, you have no plan, no clue what's happening there.
So important and very easy to set up.
I disagree.
Really?
So, yes. I mean, I would say 99.9% of all analytics setups are bad, because they just show you the standard numbers. And we should have an episode about this.
Yes,
because
we should.
Analytics can give you so much information. And if you have the standard, it's just meh. It's not cool.
Yeah, I think it does take, depending on how in-depth you want to go with your analytics, it does take additional setup. And also you should be able to better understand the data that you see, because if you're taking everything at face value, there could be some problems in there in the tracking, and something might be going horribly wrong without you knowing, or vice versa.
Yeah, and also many people don't track what they could track. So for example, if you have let's stick to landing pages. So if you have a landing page with a form that people should fill, and it's, for example, for setting up an account or something, and then if you just look at your conversion rate, which is what analytics will tell you as soon as you set up the goal, you will just know, did the person sign up or not? And if it's not a nice number, you will think, oh, the problem is on the landing page. But as soon as you use things like event tracking with analytics, which is not standard setup,
True.
and you will maybe figure out, oh, maybe it's a problem with the form, or there's an error when people fill in their password or something. There will be things, the devil is in the detail, and you will not see this if you don't track all of this information. And almost no one does it. So yeah, things like event tracking are super important. Then you have to exclude all the bot traffic that you get. You have to have your raw data view, but you also have to have your clean data view that you can actually work with, and so on.
Yes. Let's do an episode. Yeah.
We will. And we should maybe invite someone who knows that topic better than we do, because I'm not an expert and I think you are not as well.
No, not really.
Yeah, so we will find someone. I might know who I will ask, but I will not tell you now because maybe he says no and then everyone will be disappointed. And my hairline will go 1 centimeter up because I was being a dick to all the women listening.
And yeah, we could go into a lot more detail on the whole hosting and building topic.
But no.
No, not today.
If you're interested in that, you just Google it.
Yeah. So Nils.
Yes.
I have a question.
Oh.
So what do you think separates a good landing page from a bad one? What content should I have on my good landing page?
So that's a kind of tricky question because it's very... It depends again. I like to say that a lot. So instead of telling you like what exactly should be on your page, that's super individual. So I would rather say people who build a landing page or people who want to run a landing page should answer some questions to their visitors as fast as possible so that people can understand the answer to these questions. So the first question I think is super important that should be answered immediately is, what is this page about? Because when people come to your page, in the first few seconds, they need to understand what the page is about, because otherwise, if they think it's not relevant for them, they will just bounce. They will just leave the website after a few seconds. And you can see this in your analytics data. So if you use analytics and you have a high bounce rate on your page, on your landing page, and a short time on site, so people just were on there for a few seconds and they leave the site, then it's typically a sign for not enough relevance. And so 3 things you could do to make people understand that it's relevant to them as fast as possible is, first of all, the headline. I think the headline is the most important element on every page out there. Did I talk about this in another episode?
Maybe in the first one, but I can't remember.
Okay, it's fine. So your headline should just get to the point. People should not have to interpret the content. It should just explain to people what is this page about and maybe why is this offer interesting for me or good for me or whatever. Sometimes it's hard to do it with a head. Oh, I thought you were laughing because I said sometimes it's hard.
Oh.
Excuse me. Sometimes it's hard to do it just with a headline. So it can make sense to have a main headline and a subheadline so that you can use the subheadline to further explain, because you don't want your main headline to be like 3 or 4 lines of text. That would be a bit long, so it would be hard.
That's what she said.
Oh, come on. It would be hard to understand on the first glimpse what the page is about. So in this case, I would recommend to have a headline that is either explanatory or emotional. So both can work. So for example, if you have a product like an online school for stupid pupils, what's it called? Where people learn how to do math or English or
School?
German. Oh, like an online school, really? In German, it's Nachhilfe.
Oh.
So, however, if you have, where children learn how to be better at school, then you could have a main headline that is explanatory, like, we are the online school for making your children get better grades at school. Or you could do some emotional headline, which could, for example, trigger a pain point, like, your child will not get a job if you don't change anything. which would be a bit
Oh,
extreme.
yeah.
But this would be emotional, while the other one would be more explanatory. So if your main headline is explanatory, then be either emotional or explanatory in the subheadline. And if the main headline is emotional, then your subheadline must be explanatory, because people need to understand what you offer on your page.
Cool.
And next to the headline, it's important to have a hero shot. So the main image of your website that usually shows your product or shows how your product works, it should match the main headline that you have on your page. So whatever your main headline says, your hero shot should strengthen this, or should emphasize more on this, because all people can gather the information out of an image a lot faster than out of text. So it helps people understand the relevance of your website. And so your hero shot should be explanatory and help the headline, because otherwise people might not understand, or the implicit signals of your page go in a wrong direction. So for example, if you're Tommy Hilfiger, this fashion brand that everyone might know, they use imagery where you see cool mid-20, nice hairstyle people, guys and gals, that stand in the desert with their foot on the wheel of a cool Mustang car, and you don't really know what they're selling, but it's their brand image and they are well known, but you might not be well known. So you should always use images that really make people understand what you offer. If you are working for a very big brand where people will know this most likely anyway, then it's okay. Then you can use some more branding focused images. But if you're not so well known, you should always use images that explain.
On the topic of images, how bad is it to use these generic stock photo style images as your hero shot or on your landing page?
Very,
okay.
I would say. So, yeah, I think with stock photos, there are some problems. So the first thing is it's not authentic, because usually, I mean, we all know stock photos and they just look fake.
Yes.
They look too staged, too perfect in some situations, and it's just not authentic. People will not trust you. And you should build trust very soon on your page, which will be the next question, by the way. Nice transition. So if you use stock photos, sometimes it can even happen that you use like Mr. iStock Photo or Mrs. iStock Photo. There was an award for this, so it's
Really?
These two people, you might know both of them. So Mrs. iStock Photo was this slightly Asian / Caucasian looking woman that's smiling with a bit of the gum above your teeth.
Yes.
And she was always smiling when she ate salad. And
this woman.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows her,
like,
I think.
When the salad is so hilarious and you're like laughing at it.
Yes, it tells you jokes.
Yeah,
and so this one, but she's also an operator, of course, like every stock model. And
an operator?
Oh, sorry, a phone support with a headset. Isn't that called operator?
Yeah, I just, for some reason, thought you meant someone who is doing surgeries.
No. Oh, but also that.
Of course.
She's also a doctor. And so and then there's this one, I don't know, mid-50s aged guy who's a lawyer, a construction worker, architect, and homeless. And so there was a website where you had both of these, where you saw them like not only from the stock photos, but in real situations where people used these photos on websites, and it was really hilarious.
Wow.
So the problem with stock photos is many people know or recognize the models, which makes it even less trustworthy. And I would always say, if you want to use people, then just use the people that work for you. So show your company, build trust with that, because that's super important. And even if you have a photo shooting for a company, I had that a few weeks ago with a client where I was looking at the landing page and giving them feedback on what to change about it. And they had a picture there of a team, and it was like isolated. So the people were isolated from the background, and then the background was some, I don't know, greenish gradient color. And I said to them that they should change this to a real team photo and not use stock photos, but it was a real team photo. But they made it look, because it was so overproduced, like it was too perfect, and then this isolated background, and I just thought it's a stock photo, and I didn't trust them. So yeah, you should always try to, I don't know, show the people that work for you in a normal environment. And also you don't necessarily have to use people in your hero shot, because many people want to use people so it's an emotional image. But many times it just doesn't make sense. My favorite company that I was working with is Immobilien Scout 24. Germans will know, a German real estate website. And there was a time when we were optimizing their landing pages, and on every landing page they had a person looking somewhere, and that was it. So it was just there and looking in the void. And yeah, they said they want to have an emotional website, but that's not emotional. Emotional can be many things, but not just showing faces.
Yeah.
Also, the problem is if you use faces, they grab so much attention. So when people go to your website and they see a face, they will most likely look at the face first, which is not good, because you might want to direct the attention to other parts of your page, like your main headline or even your call to action or something, but not necessarily to a face that's just staring somewhere. That doesn't add any value. Talking about trust, the second question that you should answer with your website or with your landing page is, can I trust the company behind this website? And so there are 4 things I would say that you can do. One of them is what I just said. So use team photos, show who you are, show your face if you can, if your coworkers, if your colleagues are okay with that. Of course, you shouldn't force them to be on there, and many have a problem with it, but then maybe at least show the founder of the company and build some trust with that. And then also, what's kind of obvious is you should have a logo that shows who is running this website. I know it's very obvious, but still, it's important to have it in the right position. So if you see some eye tracking studies, or if you do some user testing and you ask people who's running this website, who's the company behind this website, people will usually always look in the top left corner of the page. And this is exactly where you should put your logo, because people are used to it. But then again, there are some pages where they have the logo in the middle or in the top right corner of the header of the page, or even in other places where people don't really find the logo. So, for example, I was working with Christ, like the jewelry shop from Germany, and their branding tells them to have the logo in the center of their page. So the logo must be centered at all times. And at the top left, they had their top brands. So when we were asking people who's running this website, they were usually saying one of the companies, of one of the brands that they had at the top left. They didn't recognize it was the Christ website, with the logo in the middle of the page. So sounds stupid, but you should really put your logo in the top left. And if you are not that well known, so if you don't have 90% plus brand awareness, then I would recommend to put some trust signals next to your logo. So for example, if you have your logo at the top left, you can put a small collection of media brands next to it that were talking about you. So for example, if you were on TV or if you were in some magazines or wherever, then you could just say something like "as seen on" and put these there. What happens there is that when people have trust in these companies, they will transfer some of the trust to your brand, because they would think that these brands that I trust would not talk about you if you were no one. So that can work pretty well. And also, of course, you can use your header for showing off some seals, some awards that you got or something. But this usually doesn't do so much for your conversion rate, because people are, I would say, not so interested in these informations at this point. No. So when people just land on your page, it's not that important. I would rather put this in a deeper step of the funnel. And also you see many pages that have like many online shops have the Trusted Shops logo, Trusted Shops seal in the header of their page. And I'm sorry if someone from Trusted Shops is listening right now, but from my experience, this doesn't change a thing. So you can rather leave this away so you have a better visual hierarchy. The users can focus better on the content that's important instead of just putting this Trusted Shops seal there. Because I think no one says, this online shop has no Trusted Shops, I will not buy here. It doesn't happen, I would say.
I think these seals and awards can get really excessive on some websites, like just so many icons of what award they won in 2007. And like corporations that I've never heard of that I don't really care if they got, like a high rating. So this can get really over the top.
That's true. I mean, it can be cool if you
Yeah.
explain. If it's unknown, then you should explain why is it good that we got this. But of course, you shouldn't put 20 of them there just because you have them. And also, talking about trusted shops again, I mean, trusted shops also gives you these ratings that you can show off, and that makes sense. So I'm not saying trusted shops is bad at all. I just say don't just put the seal there without any information on why is it cool that we have this. Another question that you should answer is, how is the offer good for your visitors? So this comes down to benefits usually, and many people think they have benefits on their website, but most of the time it's just features. So when I give a talk, I usually use this chair example. So if you were selling chairs, then these chairs have some features like an ergonomically designed backrest. For the Germans in here that don't know these words, ergonomische Rückenlehne. And because it says ergonomical or ergonomically designed, people think this is a benefit, but it's not. It's a feature. And you can transform these features into benefits by asking yourself, how is this helping my customer, or how is this good for my customer? So if you have this ergonomically designed backrest, you could ask, how is an ergonomically designed backrest good for my customer? And then you would get to the real benefits in there, which can be something like they have less back pain, they have a healthier sitting posture, they can be more agile throughout the day because of their healthy back or whatever. So by asking, how is this helping my customer, you usually get from features to benefits. Then again, it makes sense not to just think of your best benefits to place on your website yourself, but to ask your visitors. So it should be data driven, to use some buzzwords in here.
Yes.
And what I like to use, if you have seen a talk from my site in the last 2 years, I think you have heard this already, but I like to use Hotjar or any other tool that you can use to ask your visitors questions. There are many others like Mouseflow or VWO, but I like Hotjar, so I always recommend to use them. And with Hotjar, link in the description, and hello, David, if you're listening. With Hotjar, you can ask questions. And what happens there, you could, for example, start by asking the question, what is important when buying from us, or when buying in general? And then you should do this as a free text answer, so people can just answer whatever they want. And you usually get a lot of answers in very short time. So from my experience, like 0.5 to 1.5% of all people who get these questions will reply. And then depending on the traffic you have, it takes a very short time to get a lot of answers. And usually as soon as you have like 200 answers or something, it's already enough to work with it. And then you should try to cluster these answers that you got into different clusters.
Yes.
And my example that I use for this thing usually is from a hotel chain that we were working for in the past, where we did this, and it worked really well. So the first question was, what is important for you when booking a hotel? And then people were saying something like, it shouldn't be too expensive. It should have a good connection to public transport. The location should be nice. It should be in the city center. Breakfast should be included. I want free Wi-Fi, whatever. And you get some answers that go in the same direction. Like, I want a good location, or I want to be in the city center, or I want to be close to public transport, close to whatever. So this is usually the cluster for location. And then you do this with all the answers you got, and then you get maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 clusters, because many people just will answer the same. And then you ask another question with predefined answers. So it's a multiple choice question where people can just pick one answer from the answers that you predefined for them. And then what happens is that you usually get a very nice prioritized list of all the answers that you were providing. So you can see, oh, maybe the most important thing was the location, the second most important thing was the pricing, and so on. And it's 100% data driven. And it usually works really well. We were doing this for this hotel chain that I was talking about. And just by doing that, we increased the conversion rate by 14% or something, just because we used these benefits instead of the ones that we would have used otherwise. So it really makes sense to do that.
And when you are asking these questions to your visitors, is there like an ideal time to ask them? Should I put it on all my landing pages or just the booking confirmation page? Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on my confirmation page, because then you only get the answers of the people that converted anyway. But of course, you want to have especially the answers of the people you couldn't convince. So I would always ask the question on my landing page that is focused on this topic. So it should be very specific, and you shouldn't ask it on every page that you have, because people will have different goals in their mind. So let's take Sixt as an example, if I may.
Sure.
Some people want to find out where to park their car when they fly away with an airplane. Some people want to book a car from you, and some people maybe have a support request because they had a problem with booking a car, which of course never happens.
Of course.
But yes, but if you ask these questions on these different pages to the people with the different goals in their head, then you will get answers that you cannot really work with. So it should always be focused on the specific landing page. So if you need to find benefits for one landing page, then ask this question on this landing page. So talking about how is this offer good for me, what also makes sense is to place some testimonials on your website. So what do others say about your product, about your offer? And what I found out for myself, like what is the perfect pattern to build a testimonial. If you just ask your customers, if you ask your clients to give you a testimonial, many times they will not really write something that is very convincing. So you would, for example, get these typical eBay quotes like everything fine, would do it again. And that doesn't really help, because it's not really trustworthy and doesn't really tell a story. No. And instead, I like to give people a blueprint or a framework that they can use for their testimonial. And I usually like them to answer what happened before you were working with us or before you were using our offer. How was the experience while using our offer? And how did your life, which sounds a bit dramatic, but how did your life change since you've been using our offer? And so if you have this before, during, and after framework, people will give you a much, much more complete answer and a much more trustworthy answer, because they will tell a story and usually add some details that they would not add otherwise.
Cool. Good tips. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
I still really love the testimonial from my boss
that he gave me.
Yeah.
Yes. Check out my website. No link in the description.
Why not?
Because I'm not advertising myself. I promised. So
okay.
I stick to it. But talking about websites, maybe next episode. I think we will not be done when this episode is published.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
No.
So there will be a website for our podcast, which will be very amazing.
Fabulous.
Yes, but we'll talk about that next week. So tune in next week for Stroke Never Gets Old.
True, we've used it like every episode.
Yes.
Premature endings. Everyone loves the premature ending.
I feel we didn't make a lot of jokes in this episode. I don't want my episode to be boring.
It's not boring.
But it's not funny.
It is funny. We laughed a lot.
What was with our learning and laughing?
Learning and laughing. Isn't it on Trello?
It was the intro episode where you were saying this, where I wrote it in the notes and you were making fun of me for that.
Sharing knowledge and learning and laughing.
Yeah.
It's so cheesy. Fantastic.
I like cheese.
Me too.
But I still feel we should put more funny things in here. That's what she said. Okay. Okay, and so the last question that you should answer for the people that come to your landing page is, what should I do now? So the typical thing that you would use for this is the call to action. I would like to specify what a call to action is. So usually when people talk about the call to action, they talk about the buttons, but a call to action doesn't have to be a button. A call to action is just the call to action. So it can also be a headline that is above the element that people should interact with or whatever. And so this call to action should consist of 2 parts from my experience, or as far as I would recommend. There's a simple formula that I like to use for this that I stole from Talia Wolf. Link in the description. We will link to her blog because it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about conversion optimization a lot. And when I was seeing her at the Growth Marketing Summit 2017, I think,
Mm-hmm.
or 16, I don't even remember. There she was talking about how to write great call to actions. And what she did is that she had a formula consisting of what plus why. So what should people do now and why should they do it? And the what should be very easy to understand. So just like your main headline, it should be to the point. People should not have to interpret what you say there. And the why should address a personal need or goal of the person that's coming to your website. So for example, if we were having this podcast and we were having a website for it where people should subscribe to a mailing list to get notified about new episodes, which might happen very soon, then it could be something like subscribe to our mailing list, which is the what should they do now, which is very easy to understand. And the why would be to never miss an episode or to get all the latest funny marketing knowledge, if this is funny. I hope so. So this what plus why can work really well for call to actions. But then, of course, it's important that you make this information stand out because it should be seen very early. And because it's your call to action or even your button or your form or whatever you have on your landing page, it usually does stand out. Important thing to say, button colors don't matter. So it's not important if your button is green, orange, or red, and whoever says something else doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's only important that your button has contrast, so it should stand out of your page so people see it very early, and then you can use this call to action formula on that button for the button copy so that people will understand very early what's the goal of all of this, what's the goal of this website, where does this lead to, and then buttons can make an impact, but you should not be like many people who talk about conversion optimization who have no idea of how to do it and they just test different button colors. This is bullshit and doesn't do anything. Also, next to your call to action somewhere, you should, or even throughout the content of your landing page, you should talk about the FUDs or the fears, uncertainties, and doubts that people have in their minds, because people usually have them. So whatever the goal is, if it's just giving you an email address, or if it's giving you money, or if it's, I don't know, any action that you want people to take, there will always be something. So they could be worried about the time and the effort that they have to put into this. So if you have a form that goes through different steps, then at some point people will think, how long does this take? I don't want to spend 30 minutes in this form right now. They want it to be easy and fast. If it's for a loan, then usually people need a lot of information from you, and they need information about your salary and blah, 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 blah. And so you might have to get some documents to get all of this information correctly. And this is a lot of effort, but you can, of course, handle this objection or this uncertainty by simply saying how fast it is and what information people need, or if they don't need any further information. And so people might be more likely to fill the form or to complete the process. Another thing that's important for these long forms is complexity. So if your form is very long, or even if it's very short, you should tell them. So show people how far are you already, how much progress did you make, so that people are less likely to abandon the form or the funnel, because they think they don't want all the efforts that they made so far to be in vain. They don't want it to be for nothing.
Yeah.
A very common fear that people have when using your websites or your landing pages is security. And with that, I don't mean SSL encryption, which usually comes to people's heads or to people's minds when you talk about security. Yeah. Again, like with the trusted shop seal I mentioned earlier, I don't think it happens that people come to a page and say, there is no green SSL seal next to the submit button. I won't submit this form. So I think this doesn't happen. And also, I think people who know about SSL encryption, they will understand usually that they can get this information in the browser address bar where they see the green lock.
Yes.
That shows them this page is encrypted. Or if they don't know it, then it's not enough just to say SSL encrypted, 265 bits or something. They won't understand. So for these people, I would rather say something like SSL encryption dash, we use the same security standards that your bank uses or something like that. So people get an understanding of how secure this is. But security, I think, is not, as I said, is not only about encryption or data security, but it's also about what happens if I order this product that you sell on your page, and what if it gets damaged from the delivery, or how much time does it take to get here? Will I get it in time because it's Christmas or something like that? And who can I contact, or how easy is it to contact people if there's a problem, and so on. And so all of these things, just think about what people might have in their minds when ordering from you. Or even if you have a very specific online shop or product, for example, ice.de, like a German online shop for toys for adults.
Oh.
You didn't
know?
No, it's nice, I've heard. When you start the checkout process, they say that the sender's address from the box that you get to your home has a discrete name.
Yes.
You don't get a parcel from ice.de or something like Dildo King or whatever, so that your neighbors or your post guy would know what you ordered. But you can choose to have it from a neutral address where people don't assume that you are a beast in the bedroom.
I get my post delivered to work, so that would be useful.
What would you order?
If I was buying a gift for my friend on such a website.
Yes. Your friend named Izzi with the white hair.
Then it would be very comforting to know that there was an incognito address.
Yeah, so this is a security fear. So, yeah. And yeah, you should just ask yourself what specific fears, uncertainties, and doubts, so these FUDs, what could people have in mind when using your page? And that usually increases conversions or conversion rates.
I would be kind of worried. I really get your point, but maybe highlighting too many fears, uncertainties, and doubts is bad for those people that didn't even think about that. And they're like, should I be worried about this? I didn't even think about that.
Yes, that happens, especially if you use like security seals like antivirus or something. I had that in the past. We were working for an insurance company from Stuttgart, and they had all of the seals you could get. And they also had a Norton antivirus seal that they wanted to put on the page. And just by removing this, we increased the sign-up rate by 13%.
Wow.
So of course you can, how do you say in English? You can awaken sleeping ghosts. Wow.
I like that.
It doesn't exist, right?
No, but I'm going to say it now.
Okay, cool.
Maybe I like to say open Pandora's box.
Yeah, this happens. So you shouldn't go crazy on talking about things that could happen but will not, because people will get this in their minds. There's also a case study by Michael Agard from contentverve.com. If this page still exists, I don't even know. And he was testing things like using the word spam below your newsletter signups. So, for example, we don't like spam, or we will never spam you. And just by using the word spam, people had a lower conversion rate because they were thinking about spam. I'm not sure if you would still test something like this today, or if something like that would still have an impact today. But he had a case where this was the case, and he knows what he's doing. So
I think that would maybe affect like older visitors who are very cautious about these things because they hear fake stories.
This could be, yeah. Again, it always depends on how much knowledge of internet usage your visitors have, and so on.
Yes.
Oh, that was longer.
You're teaching me how to internet and how to drink.
Yes, the most important things in life.
Yes. What would I do without you?
I don't know.
Okay, so once I've asked myself all those questions and implemented the changes that were necessary for me, how can I improve beyond that? You're so distracting.
I'm so sorry. I was just showing my duck. The red one.
Oh, nice. It's a really nice red duck.
Thanks. Yeah, so I didn't say this earlier, but what's very important is that all of what I said is kind of best practice. So it doesn't have to work just because it worked for me in the past. So whatever you do, you should always test. So get an A/B testing tool. You can use paid tools or free tools. There's a free tool named Google Optimize that you can use. With Google Optimize, you can do some A/B testing to test the things that you learn. You should never just copy your competitors, or you should never just blindly trust what people tell you, including me. So assume that I'm wrong with everything I say. So whenever you change something about your page, test it and see how it affects the users that you have on your website. And then again, so beyond those best practices, if you look in the data that you have, if you do the research, you will find out what really could make an impact on the user behavior on your pages. So don't just listen to best practices. Don't just do what other people do, because this is really just a starting point. So if you have a page that is not converting so well, or that you're not so satisfied with, or that users don't really like, or if it's a new page that you're just building from scratch, then you can use these tips and you can use these best practices to have a starting point. But beyond that, you should always do your own research. So get some analytics tool, do some mouse tracking, do user surveys and so on, and do testing. So test a lot and never stop testing. So it's a never-ending cycle, if you want to call it like that. So look in the data, write hypotheses, try to figure out what could have an impact, create variations that make sense. Do good A/B testing where you get real results, and don't stop your tests after one day, but instead wait for 2 weeks or something, and wait until you have enough data to really see how does this improve my conversion rate, or how does it maybe even harm my conversion rate, and then learn from the results you get and then start again. So it's never ending, and you should always have a test running at all times, because it really does have an impact on your conversion rate, and it will improve your conversion rate over time. And if you're not testing, then you're missing out on a lot of opportunities that you have right now.
Wow, so powerful. So thank you, Nils, for all of that knowledge and awesome advice on building epic, high-end, high-converting landing pages. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, or any of the podcast episodes that we created with love for you, then please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or YouTube. Also, we would really love it if you would rate us on iTunes and leave us a review if you enjoyed it, if you hated it, whatever you...
Especially if you enjoyed it.
Especially if you enjoyed it. That would be nice.
Only 5 stars.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you have questions or requests, you can tweet to us at Izzi Nils Show. Sorry, hashtag Izzi Nils Show. So thank you for listening. Bye.
Tune in next week to hear a special Christmas episode and the end of 2018 podcast by the Izzi and Nils Show.
Can I use the bathroom and then we can be more funny? No, not whilst recording. Oh God. Nils.
Will you hate me a lot if I leave this in here?
Yes.
Okay.
But you don't care. You just cut out all the embarrassing parts that you do, and you keep in all my embarrassing parts because you're in charge of the editing. You have so much power over me and my future.